Hey guys, it's D.Bowie here, and this is things I learned with EG.Arteezy's Mirana in 706. First of all, I want to show this clip here. Nice arrow from Arteezy, right? But how does he manage to land it? High-level players love to use these lone trees to make their next movement unpredictable, because Dyer's gonna lose vision when he gets there. By going there, he can walk in the fog that the tree produces, confusing the enemy team. Since Arthur knows that there's a big chance he goes for that, he throws the arrow in a way that when the arrow leaves high ground, he's almost reaching the spot. So first, he actually throws the arrow after Clockwork is in the low ground, so he won't have vision of the arrow, but also in the manner that I said. So it's very hard for Clock to dodge this, because it won't give Clockwork enough reaction time, and that's an easy first blood for the Dyer team. Crispy play. Mirana is a hero that shined last year and is not considered top tier in this meta anymore. She's not played often in mid, but there are some underrated benefits of Mirana right now. She synergizes pretty well with Void because of the Chronosphere arrow combo, and also with drafts that have other right-click cores, which is exactly the case in this game. Her weaknesses are low base damage early on and small mana pool. This is why Arteezy started with Ring of Protection. Basilius solves this problem slightly in the early game. A lot of people forget about this, but Mirana has a lot of attack range. In this first wave, look how many right clicks Arteezy made sure to drop on the Earthshaker. Most of the time Earthshakers are used to winning the lane because most of the carriers are melee, and this is a very good way of punishing the offlaner. And as soon as the large camp respawns, he already starts maximizing his levels. Mirana is actually amazing in utilizing the large camp, and at the end of the first 10 minutes, Arteezy is actually ahead in levels than both mid laners in this game. AA goes for the best pool in the history of Dota. Arteezy makes sure to thank him.
My pet thanks you.
And here we see that last hitting under tower is something that Mirana really struggles with. There are some small tips. The most common one is that if the tower is hitting a creep from 100%, when your base damage is below 65, you should always attack once and then try to get less hit. He gets unlucky with this melee creep, but we see it working with the range one. Another good tip is always standing very close to the target once you last hit, so that projectile speed doesn't play a big role in how this unfolds. The first skill we spot in the safe lane is when Clock shows up. I'm a big fan of what Arteezy does here. With this level discrepancy between him and Clock, he doesn't even care about battery assault. By staying so close, he also minimizes the chances of losing mana to cogs, and only when Clock starts to get away, he walks away from that spot. And in this situation, it's very easy to land an arrow. He actually saves Starstorm for Earthshaker, but with all those creeps there, it's very hard to land a second instance in the offlaner. Regardless of that, it's a double kill, and I want to mention Arteezy bringing himself the Aquila instead of finishing face boots. If you already have Basilius and Naked Boots, the increasing damage you get for 500 gold is way bigger by getting Wraith Band than buying 1 Blades of Attack. There are some heroes that would finish Face Boots anyways because they need the extra move speed to get kills or to survive in lane, but Mirana has Leap, so Arteezy is Gucci. He makes sure to keep those right clicks going on whoever is in the lane, and afterward we see the large camp being fully utilized by our close to 10k MMR boy. Another thing to mention is how he never got Moonlight Shadow at level 6. Even though the mana cost was reduced in a very old patch, as a safe laner without bottle, it's very costly to get the skill. You're not free to gank as a mid Mirana, and most of the time the skill doesn't really help you get more kills in the lane. So I'm a big fan of the second point in Arrow. The scale in base damage is actually more than 100% from level 1 to level 2. He keeps Arrow in the large camp there and finishes Treads instead of Face Boots. In this game he doesn't want to go X. Not only the build up is long, but getting extra magic damage against an anti-mage is not the most ideal thing. Especially because against an Invoker, it's very common for anti-mages to actually go BKB early. The right-click build also synergizes greatly with having an Invoker that can Alacrity you, and because of this, Treads is way better than Face Boots. It allows him to use more spells without having a bottle because he can Tread switch, and it's great with Diffusal Blade, the first big item he goes for. Even with Treads though, Fairing Clarities is a must with carry Mirana, and as the creep wave pushes, you can see him Tread switching to Starstorm, while he later stack pulls the large camp to keep his farm up. Pretty crispy. Arteezy ends up getting a kill on the low IQ Disruptor, but afterwards we see a very clever play from our Canadian boy. He is very low on mana, but knows that Earthshaker is around, so he goes on him to harass Earthshaker even though he is close to his tower. This play allows him to pop Clarity, and it might seem small, but keep watching. Earthshaker doesn't want that Clarity going, and he can easily cancel it, so why not? Such a dumb Mirana. But the fact that he got enough regen by forcing Fissure first and popping the Clary later, and the fact he knows that Earthshaker has no Echo Slam and no cooldown for Fissure, allows him to get an easy kill, even though he misses the arrow here. If you don't know, this is the leap arrow technique. I'll leave a link in the description for the uninformed, but this basically allows you to arrow without the animation of the skill, which sometimes helps landing difficult arrows. Using this technique is also why people get level 2 of the arrow. You're not going to deal a lot of damage from close range, level 2 really helps in that regard, and even though he missed, he gets the kill. From here on out, the game changes completely. Arteezy doesn't want to trade farm against Anti-Mage and instead smoke yanks to the mid lane, and they don't get a kill. That's not an excuse to farm though, they shrine and go top. They could gank Anti-Mage since Void has Chrono, but at daytime, with Anti-Mage missing from the lane, this is wishful thinking at best. But in the end, all of their rotations were suboptimal, ending with a classic Arthur rant at the end. Arteezy focused in taking tier 1s after that play. Earthshaker still doesn't have Blink Dagger, and this is a great time to contest those tier 1s. The tier 1s being down decreases the Anti-Mage farming speed in the early game because he will not feel so safe. The real problem for Arthur in this game though is that even though Anti-Mage is not a strong early game hero, every other hero in the Radiant team is or also counters him. So even though he gets Disruptor here, he can't handle the Crepify plus Veil. Earthshaker also got Blink Dagger. As soon as he respawns, for instance, we see him landing a great arrow on Pugna. He knows he can land it since it's nighttime, and look how he actually walks to the closest spot between the Dire and Radiant side to leap through the river. He also makes sure to keep attacking towards Pugna and only Starstorms when the stun duration is about to end. Pugna felt like he had no cooldown or mana or something, and that was a great G-bait. But once again, Arthur keeps playing dangerous Dota, and even though Earth Spirit gets a great kick, he ends up falling. This clip showcases how Dire is good against Anti-Mage. Even though Void clips Arthur in the Chrono and he deals close to no damage during Chrono, they easily take Anti-Mage down later. Again though, Arteezy plays slightly too aggressive in comparison to his team. When he sees Clock though, you can see a lot of small plays that don't stop him from dying but are worth mentioning. As he runs away from Clock, he actually goes for the first fog he finds instead of running immediately, probably because he was afraid of Glimpse. Even then, look how his clicking patterns try to put him in a safer position. Unfortunately though, with this great echo and the vision from Missile, he falls. In this game, you might feel like Diffusal Blade is only good against the Crepify, but you need to remember that the two carry talents from Mirana really synergize with the item. That's also why he's going Manta next, and even more importantly, Diffusal counters Anti-Mage. This is why Terror Blade is so good against Anti-Mage. His survivability is basically Blink, and Anti-Mages usually don't carry Magic Wand. If Void lands a good Chrono and Arteezy is able to Manta attack him for the duration, he most likely won't have mana to blink away. Most people like Maelstrom when they go for carry Mirana, but in this game it's just not optimal in my opinion. The magic damage is very low impact against Anti-Mage, and the mana drain is the real star here. If you pay attention to Arteezy's movements after the 25-minute mark, he actually goes back to farming. And this is something that low-level players struggle quite a bit. They are either like, okay, I'm farming to the late game, or okay, we need to destroy Anti-Mage and fight all the time. Don't get me wrong, Arteezy died quite a lot, but Anti-Mage dying is way more important than Mirana, there's no discussion about this. The strength of AM is exactly how fast he gets on a particular timing. The later he reaches that point, the stronger everyone else will be in comparison, and at this point, Arteezy is working on that. That particular spot on the Dire side is great for Miranas to farm, especially against the bizarre purple creatures. We see him going for this spot to farm multiple times. This fight starts pretty small and it gets huge. Arteezy infiltrates Radiant with Moonlight Shadow, and we see Diffusal Blade working in multiple ways. First of all, it allows him to get the arrow on Clock very easily. Since they have vision of Anti-Mage mid, they keep the fight going. He holds on the Diffusal charge here since the Disruptor is pretty low on HP and is gonna die, but keep watching. He predicts Anti-Mage very well with a TP, but even though the arrow doesn't hit it, it gives them the confidence to go for this fight mid. Here Diffusal works on purging New Scepter, and it was overall a great fight for the Dire side. After pushing bottom, we see Arthur going back to the same place. Even without the Acolytes, he can farm it this way. And then another fight unfolds, with Void fighting Anti-Mage farming Ancients, and we can see Arthur showing off his 9 KMMR skills again. To be honest, you can see that he wanted to jump to a very particular spot, but it's very hard for Mirana. I feel like her motto window is very long because of the mount. Regardless of that, you know what Arteezy was doing, but more importantly, anti-mage itemized pretty well. The mana drain from Diffusal Blade, Invoker skills, Defeating Blast, a lot of those things are manageable with BKB, and Arthur can't do much, but a clutch play happens. Earthshaker lands a beautiful echo on top of a Static Storm. Arteezy gets mana to pop Manta that I'm pretty sure would dodge the stun, but he actually drained Earthshaker's mana during the cast point. Pretty interesting interaction here. In the end, allowing Dire to convincingly win this fight. Unlike his Invoker, Arteezy forces the tower, and look how he plays this. He was probably afraid of a buyback and held on the leap, something that a lot of players like to use to actually get the tower faster. The thing to pay attention to is that Earthshaker committed Echo in the last fight, so when he buys back, they are not afraid of this at all. They only retreat slightly when the glyph pops. And since Arteezy used Diffusal, he arrows the use Earthshaker, and this ends up being barracks, and overall, just a great engagement. Another interesting clip happens now. Arteezy is forcing the shrines while Earthshaker contests him, and eventually Void gets ganked. While at the same time, an Ancient Apparition gets initiated with vision of multiple enemy heroes there. So instead of Mirana and Invoker running towards the imminent danger, what they do is actually use the map in their advantage. Invoker TP stop to pressure the tower, while Arteezy finishes the shrine. They just don't want to fight without Void, and they can't get to their shrine in time, so that's the best use of their time at the moment. It feels like Raiden actually entered Roshan, but engaged on Invoker, and keep watching how Arteezy plays this. He has a TP scroll, but what's the play that has the biggest chance of working out? Hitting a tower that's looking at him while he has vision of pretty much every enemy hero very far away from him, or TP there without Void alive, with little vision too. Invoker actually puts up a great fight, giving him more time, and this play even makes more sense because they only took barracks right now, knowing that Glyph is already down, guaranteeing them even more map control. This is another crazy fight. Radiant still wants to Roche, but this is a stalemate because they know Radiant has Echo. Unfortunately, Void goes for another dumb play, and as they retreat, pay attention to Arteezy's decision making. There's no way that they can fight Radiant anymore. Even though he's able to BKB here and actually damage AM a fair bit, he actually mantas out of nowhere. What he wants right now is damage and drain the enemy's mana. He just wants to delay this Roshan as much as possible. In the end though, defending the tier 3 top is more important, and Invoker is better at annoying the Roshan attempt than Arteezy is. Void respawns, and we can see some crispy plays. Arteezy's BKB is on cooldown, and he attempts a Manta dodge on Glimpse. This is pretty hard to do, by the way. What you need to understand is that the time to Manta is right before you're going to be moved, but the time to be moved is not fixed. Glimpse will either last 1.8 seconds until it brings you back, or take you there at 600 move speed, whatever is fast. Most of the time, unless you're being sent to your base after a TP, you're going to be dragged at 600 move speed. Arteezy misses the Manta dodge, but gets the kill anyways, but you see that he actually took a while to actually pop it. Even though Pugna survives though, the effort they put in taking towers allows them to get Roshan, since Radiant needs to go back and defend their base. And in the end, they end up winning the game. Guys, I wanted this video to be bigger, but if you follow my Twitter, you know that my computer broke. I actually got lucky, it got fixed in a day. But in the end, I'm mostly here because I won't be able to finish this video later. My plan is to stream tomorrow until BSJ's coaching session. I'll be talking about the trip, what I plan on doing there. Some people complained that they couldn't fund the trip because Indiegogo doesn't accept PayPal. So if you want to contribute, you can tune in tomorrow too, or contribute in the link in the description, or through my Bitcoin wallet address. As of always, Pugna is a platform where you can learn from people like Jesse, Fog, Munib, Waga, and get better at the game. They have now great content on the new patch, and if you want to raise your MMR, it's a great time. Just figure out the patch faster than others and get those easy wins. They also released Oracle, an amazing tool that allows you to follow your progress, understand what are your weaknesses and your strengths when playing Dota, compare it to your MMR bracket, and I feel like this is the best analyzing tool ever created, so I really recommend you to check it there. It's free, even though you need to register on Pugna. And yeah, hope you guys check that out, and tomorrow I will be live.